The Price of Freedom. Delmarva is known far and wide as the home of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, two American heroes in the days of slavery and the Underground Railroad.
But while those two get the lion's share of attention in history books, they weren't the only champions of freedom at work in our area back then. Jim Duffy of Secrets of the Eastern Shore is here to help us meet another hero, the Reverend Samuel Green of East Newmarket in Dorchester County. Welcome.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Great. Reverend Green, a contemporary of Harriet Tubman, right?
Yeah, he was kind of he was born in 1802, right along Indian Creek by East Newmarket, and was kind of a contemporary more of Harriet Tubman's father, perhaps, so a little bit older than Harriet Tubman. He was born into slavery and lived in slavery for 35 years. At the age of 30, his owner died, and in his will said Samuel Green is going to be freed in 5 more years. So he became free. During those 5 years, he cobbled together enough money to buy the freedom of his wife. But they had 2 children who remained in slavery while they were trying to raise the money to free them. Those children got sold to a guy in Cambridge who lived in one of those beautiful houses on High Street near the water, you know, that lovely walk. It wasn't so lovely for those 2 children. There was some violence and anger and injustice happened in that house, and that led Samuel Green Jr. to run away in 1854. And the slave owners are really upset, and they're demanding that the law enforcement people do something about all these people running away. And one of the people they decide to arrest is Reverend Samuel Green. So they bust into his house, and he thinks he's doing a pretty good job of being an Underground Railroad conductor. He says, come on in, search the house. So they find a letter from his son, and they find some train schedules because he was planning to go visit his son up in Canada. He's a free man now, so he can do that. And they arrest him, and they put him on trial for having these train schedules and these letters. And every story about the Underground Railroad has this, they always have some weird thing. This is the weird thing about this one. He was found not guilty. But that wasn't, it wasn't done because they decided to charge him with something else. They charged him, believe it or not, with owning a best-selling book of the time, the famous Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Really?
They called it insurrectionist material, and it was like going to promote people running away and opposition to slavery. And this time he was found guilty and sentenced to 10 years in prison for owning a book.
Whoa. That's incredible.
Much of the country had the reaction that you just had, because there were all kinds of like petition drives and public campaigns to try and reduce this sentence. It took a few years, but finally the governor of Maryland commuted his sentence and let him free. And the first thing that Reverend Samuel Green did was try to go up to Canada to see his son. In order to get money, he preaches along the way and tells about his experiences, and he's kind of a famous guy now because his imprisonment became a big deal. So he's in New York and he's doing this, he's preaching. You know who lives in New York? Harriet Beecher Stowe. So he decides to go visit Harriet Beecher Stowe. And she has a newspaper column in one of the newspapers in New York at this time, and she writes about this visit. She goes, a man came to my door, and he had just spent however many years in prison. He regarded that as his burden of carrying the cross in life and didn't complain. He only had one request for us. He never got a chance to read the book. Could we please give him a copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin? So Harriet Beecher Stowe gave Reverend Samuel Green a copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin so that he could finally read it after spending all that time in jail for having it.
Having a copy. Oh my goodness. That is a great story. Lots of twists. Cambridge author Jim Duffy, as always, thank you for another fabulous Throwback Thursday story.
Thank you.